Greetings, Astrophiles. This is Pat Cosgrove for Cosgrove's Cosmos. Today we have the second video that does a deeper dive into the Astro Color Mixer. In the first video, I introduced the Astro Color Mixer and showed the basic workflow. It highlighted how you could use sliders to control the hue, saturation, and luminance for specific color vectors. But the Astro Color Mixer is not just a set of color sliders. The real power comes from controlling what pixels are affected when using those sliders. Today we'll be doing a deep dive into band-selected shaping, range mask targeting, and how you can leverage the probe feedback and the passes feature to do advanced color processing on your images. Let's get started. Before we get started, I did want to address two pieces of feedback that I got based on the first video and the first people to begin to use the tool. The first key point I want to make is that the current instantiation of the tool requires the latest version of PixInsight, which is 1.9.4. And in the Macintosh world specifically, it has to be the version for the ARM64 and the Apple Silicon. If you're not running these versions, then the script won't run correctly. It probably won't run at all. So I wanted to make sure you're aware of that. Second point is the link that I have been sharing is a link to the repository. If you click on that link directly, you'll get a 404 error. That's because your browser is expecting to find an index.html file, which doesn't exist with the repository. So don't just click on that link. That's not going to work. The best thing to do is take a copy of that URL, go into PixInsight, go into the Manage Repositories menu item, do Add, paste that in, and then accept it. Now when you do a check for updates, it'll find the Astro Color Mixer. Once you've done this, you're likely to get a dialog box popping up saying that this particular script is not signed. Do you want to proceed? And of course, I would suggest you say yes. And the reason that you're getting that error is you have to have an accredited developer ID with PixInsight, and you embed that ID in your application. But at this point in time, I'm new to the PixInsight environment, and I don't have a developer ID yet, but I'm sure that'll be coming very soon. But for the purposes of this beta, when you get that message, just say yes. That'll allow the tool to load, and then you can begin to use it and provide any feedback that you like, which I very much would appreciate. Now we can get started. We're now in PixInsight, and I've opened up my project for the Horsehead Nebula, which was a project I did late last year. And I have a starless version of that particular image up and ready to work on. And now I'm going to bring in the Astro Color Mixer. So I go to the script library, Cosgrove's Cosmos, and choose it. The tool launches, comes up, and you'll see the target image prominently displayed on the screen. Now, this is a starless image, and I prefer to work in starless mode when doing colors. So I have to tell the app that I am in starless mode. And if I click on this red region, I'll pre-select the red band, and I can make adjustments on that band if I want to. And I'm going to put this into advanced mode so it goes even further. I can really increase the saturation to a ridiculous level. I can reduce it dramatically. And this change is going to impact those reds. And the reds that are being impacted is based on the definition of the hue areas that the tool is operating on. And you can get an idea of what that definition is by coming over to the context tools. And the default context tool being shown is a select band. And the select band basically shows you how it's creating a background mask to select those items. So right now we're on the red band, and you can see that we are right now centering right on the red color. But there's an arc of support here, and that arc is defined by the Hue Radius, in which the default case is 45, which means when you're making changes with this slider, you're impacting the hue that you selected, but also 45 degrees on either side of it as well. But it's not a full-blown impact when you make those changes. There's a feathering region in here, which sort of smooths the operation into the adjacent hue layers. And that level is defined by the feather, which is 0.75. And the key is that if you do nothing more, that's the way it's going to work for every one of these color bands. But you can customize this very specifically, and we're going to look at an example of how we might do that. So in this particular case, we want to do something with the red. And let's say that I wanted to change that. Now, let's just take a look and see what happens when I do change this. When I change the radius, you can see that the area being covered can be made larger or smaller. I can focus in a little bit more if I want. And by changing the feather, I can do one of two things. Either I can say that I want full impact on a broader region, or I can make it smaller and have it smooth more or less continuously from the adjacent hues. So I have a lot of control of what I can do here. But how do you set this in a way where you know it's useful? And the most important way to do that is to go up into the preview mode and take a look at the options you have there. Right now we're looking at the adjusted image, but we can come down and we can say, I want to look at the current mask. And that shows you the mask that's being used right now with these settings. Let me reset them. So this would be the default mask that's being used for defining reds. If I want to change that, I can change it by changing these controls. So let's say that I wanted to make this much narrower, but I want it to have more impact. So the feather region is getting smaller. And as soon as I do that, you can see that I'm changing this filter. When I'm in starless mode, I'll have another control that comes up called the soften. This allows you to blur this mask anywhere from 1 to 5 pixels. And when I do that, you can see that I get the traditional blurring that we often like to see with our mask. Now we don't do this when we're in star mode because the blurring impact can really have a negative impact on the stars. But we're starless and it knows we're starless, so we can get away and we can do that. So if we want, we can come in here and we can really look at this mask and we can fine-tune these controls to get precisely the effect we're looking for. So I can fine-tune the definition of this region. And this is only being done for the selected band that I'm working with. As I jump over to other bands, I can have different definitions and change that. So you have a great deal of control over how you want to do that. The way I tend to use this tool when I'm trying to do a very particular set of color adjustments, I'll often come down here, look at the mask, make sure I'm getting what I want to have covered with these controls. Once I do that, now I go back and look at the main image. Now I can go in and start making the changes that I might want to make, whatever those changes might be. Now let's say I wanted to make a set of changes on the red, but I didn't really want to impact these really bright regions. What I was interested in is this background area in here, where it's the same color, but it's much fainter, much darker, and I wanted to work with just those. How could I do that? These controls are global, so as I change the red saturation for this region, it's going to hit all the regions. I wish there's a way I could constrain the tool. And in fact, there is a way to do that, and you can do that with the range mask. When you go over to the range mask, you can define a region of the histogram that you want a change to occur over. Now, one thing you're going to have to think about when you start to do this. In this case, I've already made some changes, and I'm happy with those changes. But now I want to make a change which requires the range mask. I have to enable the range mask by clicking right here. When I do that, I have a choice to make. Do I want the changes that I've already made to now be constrained by this range mask, or is this really something that's for a future set of changes I'm about to make? And when you have existing changes and you turn on the range mask, you're going to be asked that question. This pass already has adjustments, and you can see these are adjustments that we already have. Use yes to limit the current pass. In other words, if I hit yes, the changes that the constraints I'm putting in with the range mask will now be applied to the changes I've already made. By saying no, it's going to create a brand new pass and it'll prepare for a new set of changes, and the ones I've made will not be impacted by this new change, but it still allows me to go ahead and make a new set of changes on top of that. We sort it later it on. So in this case, I want to preserve my changes, so I'm going to say no, and this creates a second pass that we're about to work with. Now, when I use the range mask, if I want, I can use presets, and the presets will define things that might be already useful. So for example, let's say I wanted to focus on the shadow regions. Down in the histogram, you can now see that there's a small region of activity here in the gold, which is now focused on the shadow. You see the main area and you see a little feather zone on either side. I can take a look at the midtones and suddenly we're lined up for that. I can take a look at the highlights and I'm focus there. So this is a quick way to sort of get started if you wanted to do that. But I think the real power comes in being able to manually change the low and high settings. And one of the things we built into the tool, which makes this really easy to do, is the probe. So say, for example, I wanted to make the changes I just talked about in here. If I wanted the low end in here, all I really have to do is find an area that I think represents the lowest I really want to deal with, and I click on it. As soon as I click on it, you'll see this cyan line in the histogram, and that says that's the lowest part I really wanted to go to. So now I can come up here on the low slider, and I can adjust this to be right on top of that line. Now I've established the low end of my range mask. Now, how high do I want it to go? Do I want it to go all the way up in here? No, I don't think so. I don't think I want to go much higher than about, say, there. So click there, and now you have a new line for the high end, and we can bring that down using this slider. At this point, I've created a very narrow range mask. And in addition to the two sliders I just showed you, I can also change the feathering, and we can make the feathering be a little bit tighter there. So this now constrains any changes I make on the sliders. If I'm making a slider change on the blue, it's only going to impact those pixels in this area. But since we did this for the red, that's where we really want to make our change. But how do I know I got this right? Well, you can come up to the preview mode, come down and look at the range mask. And the range mask will actually show you what we've achieved with those particular settings. And if you want, you can fine tune that. So we come down to the lows and say, what happens if I open it up a little bit? And it grows a little bit more. And actually, maybe that's even a little bit better. How about the top side? Do I want to cut anything out more? You know, I kind of like that. I think I'm going to keep that. So now I have the ability to really control what that mask looks like. So let's go back to our adjusted image. Now when I make changes, I'm only going to apply them to that particular region. Let's do a luminance change, and let's take that red and make it really dark. This is just to show what the mask is doing. You can see you're starting to get some real dark in here. Of course, I can click and hold and see what it was before. You can see I'm coming down. Now, obviously, you would never really want to make a change like that. It just shows the fact that you can. If I wanted to lighten it, I have the ability to do that. Notice that it's very easy to make changes that go way too far, especially when you're on the advanced mode where you have quite a bit of amplitude in these sliders. So do these things very, very carefully. My point in doing it this way is it really allows you to see what's being impacted. Let's go back and take the hues. What if I wanted to make this red very different than the other reds? I could do that. Of course, in this case, it looks terrible. When you started with just the overall slider controls we had in the beginning, we now have the ability to change the definition for each band, how wide it is and how aggressively it's doing corrections. And the range mask will constrain what areas of luminance that change will be made over, and I can have those both operational so that I have a great deal of control over my final image. I hope now you can see why I thought it was important to allow for passes to be supported in the tool. When you're just doing global changes, you don't really need that. But when you start coming in and doing range masks, you start being able to bisect the image, and you want to be able to do specific changes. For example, I could create a range mask, which is really looking at the shadows, and I can make all the changes I want there. But maybe now I want to do a different mask, which covers the highlights, and that creates its own set of controls. And the ability to have multiple passes building up over time allows you to segment that image into regions, change those regions, do a specific change, and then go on and do more. And you can create a new pass at any time by hitting New, but you can also go back and you can delete passes if you need to. One caveat I will say is you add more passes in, the tool does slow down a little bit. When you finally commit to saving the image back into the PixInsight environment, this takes a little bit longer because now it's doing multiple passes through the data in order to get things at the high resolution set to go back. I hope in this video I've given you a bit of a feeling for some of the more sophisticated adjustments that are made possible by the tool. I often come in and just use the simple sliders, and that often will do what I want. But when I need something more specific, between the selected band configuration and the range mask configuration, I usually can tune things in to get exactly what I want And in the process of doing those customizations, I often create very sophisticated masks that would be hard to do otherwise. And at any point that you're viewing a mask, you can come down and you can save that mask back to the PixInsight environment so that now you have that mask that you could use with other processes and scripts. So that while it's useful inside the tool, you can also export these for other applications within PixInsight. Thanks again for spending some time with me today. Keep in mind that this tool is still in beta, and I'm really hoping that other astrophotographers will give it a spin. And if you run into any problems, please report them back to me. I'd really appreciate that. It helps me to evolve the tool and polish it and bring it to where it needs to be. If you see a functionality that's not there or doesn't work the way you'd like it to work, please share that with me as well. Because like I say, most of the time I've written this tool for my own uses, so I'm pretty happy with it because it's what I want. But with a broader audience, there might be better ways to do this, and I'd be happy to hear that and see if I can work it into the tool. So for Cosgrove's Cosmos, this is Pat Cosgrove signing off and wishing you clear skies and excellent seeing.